It's a done deal. Tony Khan is a rich man, and he finally completely owns Ring of Honor. What is the future of the fighting brand of honor in professional wrestling? That's our leadoff story on today's top story from Sportskeeda Wrestling. Are we getting another NXT show added on to SummerSlam weekend? There's some work on that. Freddie Prinze Jr., yeah, he's all that, and he could be having his own wrestling promotion. Or at least that's the plan he's putting out there. And this AEW video game, you're getting a sneak peek at it. How does it look? How does it play? What are the first rumblings of the game from All Elite Wrestling? We'll talk about it. And we're not even done there. No, we're going to talk about your comments on what is the future of AEW with Ring of Honor and so much more. You share that link or you stink. So help me God, we will turn this podcast around.
Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out!
Yes, mother.
Watch out. Watch out. Watch out.
There we go. Jeremy Bennett in Nebraska, if he asks you, believes in something. Maybe possibly a buzzkill. Seems like a really good day to do a buzzkill. All right. Stay tuned. Will you get one from him? We'll find out. Jose G in Nebraska, if he asks you. No, he's in Florida. The city, the state, flowing the pipeline of stupidity comes from Florida.
Come on, Kevin. Not a whole lot of bright people come out of Chicago either. So I'm just saying.
You got people peeing in the water at it's a small.
Oh no, we got people wrestling 35-foot gators and crocodiles here. So yeah, I mean, I guess you're right.
And those are elected officials, the crocodiles.
People pee in the water everywhere.
There we go. I would vote for the gator. Let's get into it. We have a lot to talk about. I'm Kev Kellam. Shout out where you're watching from if you're here for the first time. We will talk about a whole lot more. That AEW video game looks interesting. We will show you some stills from that within this episode. And if you're watching for the first time, don't go anywhere. Stay right here. I guarantee you'll have a good time, and share that linky estate. Let's get right into it. Tony Khan owns Ring of Honor. Nothing new there, but the deal is completely done. And Tony just completely said, yeah, it's a no big deal. And Dynamite tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern or 8 p.m. Eastern, So this is a completely done deal. It is worth noting Tony owns this. This is not under the Khan family business model. So it's obviously it'll be operated in congruence with All Elite Wrestling and kind of work with it. What is the future of the brand? How is he going to keep it alive? How much did he pay for it? How many people from Ring of Honor are staying over? Some of that is out there. Some of it isn't. But there's a lot to be seen here, right, Jeremy?
Yeah, and a good night to celebrate it, as Kev said. Dynamite tonight, and we're gonna take the interim off of the women's title with Deonna Purrazzo making her AEW debut, taking on Mercedes Martinez, and what should be
a banger.
Yeah, it should be a tremendous match. Be interesting to see which way they go, because obviously Deonna's an Impact, but is she? I don't know. I don't know what her contract status is, to be honest. We know Mercedes is a lot more locked in than Deonna, so it'll be interesting to see what they do with that tonight. And it's a stacked card. I mean, Rey Fenix and Dante Martin, they're gonna tear the house down. Jeff Hardy's solo debut, Big Cass possibly, or W Morrissey, as they say. And maybe Julia Hart finally coming to the dark side. But yes, the deal is done, which means now we can proceed with the next step: television, pay-per-views, roster, all that stuff. So that's a big stepping stone into the next steps for Ring of Honor after a very good Super Card of Honor show, which was highly profitable compared to past pay-per-views. So now it's time to go to work.
It's interesting, and it would be ridiculous to think that this isn't going to be a part of what AEW rather is doing in the future in terms of expanding into some type of streaming deal, some type of ability for them to add more television content. Yesterday we're talking about it. Go watch our episode from yesterday. We dive deep into this new possible third television show for AEW on Turner TV, or one of their networks. It is something they're talking about. How does Ring of Honor play into that? It didn't seem like they do in terms of that branding. And the brand AEW is a little bit hotter right now than Ring of Honor. What are you doing with that brand? How do you keep it alive? It doesn't have a TV show. What are we doing with it? So it's something I got to keep asking myself. But it isn't clear. They can't really show their plan because we don't know if there is a plan. Tony has said several times in several different interviews, obviously he wants this brand to be involved in what they're doing with Turner. It'll be interesting if it's just another set of titles that they do with kind of secondary talent that isn't featured on television every single week. So we'll see where this plays out. And I'm intrigued. I'm a fan of Ring of Honor, some of the best live shows I've ever seen, some of the best live matches I've ever seen. So the fact that it can be preserved, that tape library will hopefully be somewhere, is ideal, and hopefully it gets on something like HBO Max.
Plus,
that's the ideal situation, right?
For everybody that was worried what Tony Khan's going to do with it, Supercard of Honor completely felt like a Ring of Honor show. So that's a major plus there.
Yeah, I also think that, to Kevin's point, I am intrigued. I'm interested to see where this is going to go. But at the same time, I feel confident enough as a fan that now that Ring of Honor is in the hands of Tony Khan and that he has a profound love for professional wrestling, I think it's going to be in great hands. He's going to do great things. He has that direct connection with Warner Media. So don't be surprised if Ring of Honor starts scaling to positions that we've never seen before. And I'm being very honest about this. And I have that belief that Tony Khan can take Ring of Honor to that other level. So I'm pretty confident.
Supercard of Honor already did that. It does. Yeah. It did 5 times the buys a normal Ring of Honor pay-per-view does.
And that was his first show running Ring of Honor.
Yep.
So
and that was without, and that was with a 4-month hiatus because they didn't have a show outside of Final Battle and then wrapping up the last of the television tapings. Then it was a hiatus, and then you basically had guys like Jonathan Gresham carrying the torch, defending that title literally everywhere. Now it's good to see it kind of that next step to what we got next for this brand.
A couple of things here before we wrap up with this topic. We will jump into the AEW video game. This still might look interesting. We will talk a couple more stories here in a second. Thank you so much, Chris Jackson. I appreciate that. Steven Chambers saying, put some Ring of Honor matches on the Double or Nothing pay-per-view that is coming up Memorial Day weekend. Is that possible? Have they defined any role for the Ring of Honor talent on that show?
I mean, I haven't heard anything, but the fact that we have Ring of Honor talent on AEW Dynamite and on Rampage, the possibility could be there. We could see some major title matches at a Double or Nothing pay-per-view. That's just me assuming. I'm not. There's no confirmation on that.
There's gonna be a lot of intermingling, and plus you got a guy like Wheeler Yuta in the Blackpool Combat Club, who is the pure champion for Ring of Honor. So you're probably gonna have Wheeler Yuta defending that belt at Double or Nothing. So they're going to defend an ROH title on an AEW pay-per-view. So you're probably going to see a lot of crossover, especially in the beginning until they get things structured in terms of television and also setting up pay-per-view schedules for Ring of Honor itself.
Wheeler and the entire Blackpool Combat Club of Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson featured in what I think is maybe the best vignette.
That was so good.
That All Elite Wrestling has done. William Regal is the central voice of it. He gives a voiceover. It really hammers down the idea of them as like a fight club.
At the end of that video, did it look like in the background it was just a bloody Wheeler Yuta? Like they were beating the shit out of him in that video, and it looked like if you look at it's blurry in the background, but you see red. It almost looks like they just beat the hell out of Yuta.
Maybe they went for some. I don't know if they would.
Maybe it was an initiation or whatnot, a final initiation.
He's filled his blood card for the year, really. For them. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The
moving on.
For blood donation's been met. Yes.
He's filled his platelets. It's all right. Moving on. SummerSlam weekend in Nashville is going to be a big one. Are they going to add WWE NXT to it? They obviously started to bring back finally NXT to the live presentation of those big quarterly pay-per-views at WrestleMania weekend. Show was pretty good. Did not pack an arena, but there was a fairly strong response to the show in general. Now they've made cuts to NXT. Does that mean they were pulling back more? It isn't the brand it once was. It's just developmental. But it does look like we will get some type of stand and deliver show during WrestleMania's next big or equivalent weekend, SummerSlam. So what is the latest on this, and how could it be added to the fold here for that Nashville weekend at the end of July?
Yeah, man. So we got a new report here. Tweet from WrestleVotes, our good friend at WrestleVotes, who always brings some really good concrete info, backstage information. Says that WWE officials have been talking about holding another NXT Stand and Deliver event for one of the big three stadium events happening this summer. So the preference said to be a Clash of the Castle from Principality Stadium on Saturday, September 3rd in Cardiff, Wales. But SummerSlam on Saturday, July 13th from Nissan Stadium in Nashville seems to be more likely. Other shows scheduled for this summer's Money in the Bank, which also is going to be a stadium show. That one's going to be set for Saturday, July 2nd from Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. We don't, it still has to be determined. Nothing's been concrete yet as far as which show is going to be a part of that weekend, but they are considering it. And this is great because, we've been accustomed to seeing NXT, at least in the black and gold era, being in these one of the big four pay-per-views or the big five, with SummerSlam, Royal Rumble. There was always an NXT takeover type of situation pay-per-view. Now it looks like it's going to be called Stand and Deliver, the big ones. So I'm all for it, but again, there's still nothing confirmed on which show it's supposed to be on.
Yeah, I mean, with especially with it being more of a developmental brand, not as many and they've released some of their stars, and they're still trying to build some new stars. Having it in the in Wales is not a bad idea because you could have the UK title defended there, and add to that card if you can't really fill it with what you've got now.
And if Pretty Deadly's still the tag team champions, they can have a pretty good show out over there. I mean, even though those guys, they repel, you look at them, you're like, ugh, I absolutely despise these guys, but they're actually the best thing on NXT 2.0 right now. You heard, boy?
Yeah. Okay, they're great. They're great.
It wouldn't surprise me. I think they'll add it to the national weekend. It's a weekend people are going to travel in for. But it would be cool if they had it on that UK weekend in Cardiff. Because let me be frank, never had NXT in Wales. Right? They've had it in England. Right? They were supposed to go to Ireland. That got stopped because of the pandemic. The UK brand is still, specifically, it is one of those lower tier things in the WWE register. But this is a big weekend for them too. This is going to be a big weekend for that UK brand to get some rub there, and I wouldn't mind them mingling with the US side of the UK brand or the NXT brand. It would be helpful to them.
And both and all of those shows are Saturday shows, so you could run NXT on Sunday.
You could do both. I mean, you also wouldn't hurt if you do it on Friday. If you're talking UK time and different stuff like that, make it a full weekend for them. I mean, if you had a show Friday night, when they're like 6 hours ahead of us or something like that. You could do a show Friday night right after SmackDown, on NXT UK takeover right after SmackDown at 9 p.m. And it only has to get like a couple 100,000 people to turn over from SmackDown on network television with the time difference or something like that. You can get.
They're 5 hours ahead. They're 5 hours ahead. So if they are going to do some type of special, it's probably going to be in the middle of the day.
Yeah, if they had a WrestleMania, there's been always talk like that. They're going to do a stadium.
Yeah, it'll be in the middle of the day for us. They're 5 hours
in the middle of the day. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I'm rooting for NXT. I know they need it.
I am too.
Fine episode of Break In. There's some goofy stuff on it that was out there. A lot of Gaga. A lot of Gaga on this Break In.
It's not Breaking. It's Spring Breaking too. The Electric Boogaloo.
There you go.
The NXT Orlando Boogaloo.
Yeah, rating got a nice boost too last night.
Good. Needed too when you're up against playoff sports and stuff like that too. Let's get into this AEW video game, Freddie Prinze. It's a lot to talk about here. That video game stuff looks interesting. It's coming up here in a second. My frames are ahead of me. Freddie Prinze is doing his own podcast, Wrestling with Freddie, and he's been active in the world of entertainment for over 20 years now, and was a very active member of W's creative team for a significant period of time in the past 10 years or so. He's saying he's launching his own wrestling promotion, and he has a plan for it over the course of the next few years of how he wants to do it. He wants weekly television, and this is a telling part of it. I can tell you this is someone who was in SAG-AFTRA, the Screen Actors Guild, and the American Federation of TV and Radio Associates. He wants them to be SAG-AFTRA, which is union. So he would want unionized performers. Are there
any wrestlers that are SAG-AFTRA?
Some are. Plenty of them
are WWE wrestlers considered SAG?
Technically, no. Technically, no. And then I hear that some of the people that are broadcasters for them get to be SAG, which is
what about Cena? Is Cena?
Cena
Well,
would have to be SAG because he's
Cena would
Yeah.
he's probably already SAG. He's probably been SAG since he's got
he's
all
been
those
he's been
those gigs.
he's probably been SAG since like the mid 2000s. So yeah, and it is interesting that they would do that. It is interesting that this is a play that he would say from the get go, we're going to be SAG-AFTRA. That would mean that they were likely filming. If they were doing this, it'd be a film show. It'd be tied to a TV studio system. It'd be tied to somebody that needs streaming. Is there a hunger for more wrestling? That's all I got to ask. Is there a hunger for more televised wrestling? We see this with brands that are on the register and have some big things they do from time to time, like an NWA, like an Impact. That doesn't mean to belittle them at all. I love New Japan as well. I've done stuff with New Japan. There is that sense of these brands are big, and then there's these other brands you watch from here and there. Is he going to file into that secondary category, which has a lot of great stuff? There's a lot of great wrestling right now. But are you going to be able to find an audience? And is it going to be a niche show? Is it going to be a show that's more appealing or tries to go head-to-head at scale with the WWE, with an All Elite Wrestling? It's interesting to say. It depends on who's backing it, because right now it's completely conceptual. And he's obviously not going to show all of his cards. But the fact that he has a plan and the fact that he wants to make it SAG-AFTRA means there's going to be some significant money behind this if he's doing it.
Yeah. I mean, there's some bullet points here from that podcast here today. Wants to start within 18 months, wants to be a 2-hour show, has money for a 3-year plan, storylines based in reality, men and women given equal time, wants its own space to be filmed in, but no TV contract yet. So this almost sounds like it almost sounds like he wants to start up something similar to the NWA, but run it differently. Maybe run it a little better than the NWA had a little tough time with the pandemic. Might necessarily not have been ran the best with Corgan, where it's now kind of rebounding a little bit. I think he wants to kind of do a territorial thing, much like Corgan. But I don't know if he's aiming for TV. Probably with the SAG, he's probably aiming for some TV or streaming deal.
It strikes me as a studio show similar to NWA.
Yep.
Studio.
It's gonna be a studio
Um,
show just like NWA. So,
but the SAG-AFTRA thing would make it so talent alluring.
Yeah.
If you're coming into the business and you're in this fringe of people and you have let's be frank, you have AEW releasing people out of deals, meaning their deals are going to run up and they're not going to renew them. They're not doing that. So you're going to have talent that can be available. You're going to have NXT guys that that were out there that got some TV reps. You're going to have some veterans who will be like, yeah, sure, I'll come and produce your show. It's only how many dates? You're going to have a show that could have the appeal of an Impact, and Impact still has this, where you're only committing to so many dates. You got the rest of the time to go and do whatever you want. There are a pack of people out there that you can get when people float from promotion to promotion. Now the territory system really has become television. You have people that can hit, all right, I'm going to do this secondary television show before I try and get myself up to WWE or an AEW, right?
And then for people that don't know, obviously they might know him as an actor. They don't know he was on the writing team behind the scenes of WWE for a few years.
Yeah.
So he does have a
he knows the system. Yeah.
Yeah. He has,
and also
this
guy's involved in television now. So I mean, this isn't a slouch. This isn't a guy who's not a part of entertainment.
It's very attractive for wrestlers that may want to dual brand themselves, like and it's a way to jumpstart them, like John Cena and The Rock have done in their.
You get health insurance.
That too,
I mean, SAG-AFTRA, you get health insurance.
Yeah.
The cool thing about this, about what Freddie is saying, and I go back to Lucha Underground, because like when Lucha Underground was filmed and the way that was done, it was done very, very Latin telenovela, right? It was like very dramatic, very dark,
so
everything
good,
had a purpose, and it was very good. So if Freddie Prinze is bringing some type of wrestling content that's going to have that type of scripted reality aspect to it, I think this could be a really good thing. I don't know how it's going to work yet, but I mean, I'm an actor myself, and I do acting gigs all the time. So I think this is a good thing, huh?
You have the bug.
The bug.
They call it the bug.
I know.
If you're in the business,
I've had the bug for 7 years. So yes. But yeah, man, I think this is great. I think this is if you're a wrestling fan and you want to keep out on some guys that are trying to build themselves, this could be a good opportunity for them, and for the fans, it's just more wrestling on TV to consume. So it's a win-win for the fan, but I'll be interested to see how this whole thing is going to work out.
Let's get into this AEW video game. I'm itching. I know I've been teasing it. I like the way this is looking. This is looking good. AEW rolling this out on their AEW Games channel, not Video Games channel. A sneak peek at the new game. They have several different videos where they've shown the kind of player models and graphics for this game. You're getting a look here if you're watching us on the video version of the very detailed version of Darby Allin. Some of the skins on this game look all right. Jeremy, this is your world, your experience with Electronic Arts. What do you think of the game, the rollout so far? Ukes, they did the long-time SmackDown versus Raw generation of this. Some of the gameplay looks all right. What do you think so far?
Yeah, I haven't got a chance to watch some of the gameplay yet just because I've been working all day. But very big announcement that came out of this was the fact that this will be released on PC, which is I don't think WWE 2K is on PC if I remember right.
It is. It's on Steam. It's on Steam.
Is it? Okay. Yeah, there's some times where it wasn't. But so they announced that it's going to be on PC. So it's going to be widely available for PC players. I'm not a PC player myself, but that's cool for those that are. Right now, the roster is at about 50 people. And, it looks like it's coming along pretty nicely. I still want to see, I still want to see a little more if this is truly going to reach a September window. But I guess we are starting to see more. So we're at that time where we are seeing more. The roster sitting at 50 kind of makes me wonder if it truly is ready for September or not, though.
You thinking of DLC after that? You think downloadable content? They launched the game with maybe like 20 or 30 players, and all right, you get the rest later on.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. It's going to be a crucial couple of months. If we get a lot of content, then I would feel pretty good that it's going to be a September release.
And of course, it'll be available on all major platforms and consoles. And distribution for the game is something as well. It interesting. AEW themselves have not flat out said, yes, this is the date that we're putting out the game out. The reported date is the September timeframe for them to get the game on the market before the Christmas holidays, which is ideal. That is ideal for them to do that as well. So we'll see where things play out here. It's also worth noting, do we get another WWE game and a mobile game or something, some offering like that? Seems like people are going to be consuming 2K22 for the rest of the year here. We do have some video. I'll look here at Chris Statlander. The game is pretty detailed. This looks pretty strong. You're working with Ukes on this as well. We're getting a look here at the intros and different things like that as well.
Your hard cam gameplay, it looks really sharp on the hard cam in the ring. It right here, yeah. Looks really this looks really sharp.
Wow, that looks really amazing, man. Like the rendering on just what we're seeing right now, that looks amazing. Better than 2K.
And that's probably, I would say that's pre-alpha footage if I'm going to guess on time frames.
And what do you mean by alpha for the people who don't know what that means?
Well, beta basically, beta, a lot of times when, let's just use Call of Duty as a big example. Beta is a widespread test of the game 2 months or so before it's released. Alpha is the stage before that. Pre-alpha is the stage before that. So basically, before the game can be finished and certified, it goes through the beta stage and then sent off to Sony, Microsoft, et cetera. Once they get certified, then the game can be released. So then you just work backwards with alpha and pre-alpha.
John started saying the only game worth playing is Dungeons and Dragons. Take your 27 and get out of here. I don't care how many.
Jeremy, quick question. I did see a report earlier about Kenny Omega and Ukes not having a lot of agreement. What can you tell us about that before we head off air?
I have not seen that report. Where was that from?
I saw two reports, one on Wrestling Inc. and one on Fightful. Something about where I guess the relationship between Kenny and Ukes hasn't been great, and it's been very difficult to work with each other. I'm not. That's just kind of like what I saw on the top of it. But apparently, there's some rift going on between Kenny Omega and Ukes. So I don't know.
Yeah, it looks like he had some frustration working with Ukes, trying to take advantage of Omega's inexperience. I don't know.
I'm gonna read the story here. Buddies over at Wrestle Talk. Sports Gaming Online is reporting that the relationship between AEW Games and Yuke, specifically Kenny Omega, has not been positive, with Omega reportedly finding himself frustrated and, quote, hating working with Ukes, with one person claiming that it has sometimes come across as if Ukes was trying to, quote, take advantage of Omega's inexperience in this position. Ooh, boy. It can be repaired, but it comes down to the desire. If either side doesn't want to continue, then AEW will look for a new partner. Ouch, 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 ouch. Ukes will almost certainly sign on for it and is even pushing for it, but AEW is nervous about anything long-term after this. That is according to a source close to the situation, and that is from Sports Gamers Online via Wrestle Talk. So some trouble brewing before we even get it in our hands, huh?
Yeah.
What is wrestling without some backstage drama, even if we're getting a video game? Right?
Yeah, and those guys have reported on some Madden things that have been pretty accurate, even though EA denied them. Then it came out to be true, which is kind of funny. I don't know. Again, Kenny Omega, though he's been in the gaming world, he's not a game developer, so I would almost lean on Ukes because they've got years of experience in doing this. And I don't know, obviously you're going to butt heads on some things. It sounds like some things are not going to be what they, were on the scale that they're supposed to be. But that happens when you're going to try to get a September release window now. I don't know. It's hard to tell what goes on behind the scenes. But if I'm AEW, I would not toil with other companies. You're gonna really end up either hurting the product. If you go with another company, your next game's 3-4 years out, guaranteed. I would trust the developers on this over Omega. Just granted, Omega has a lot of experience in gaming. There's a lot of things.
Developer, just like you said, he's not a developer. He's not a coder. He's not a programmer.
So I don't, AEW just appeasing Omega on this, taking sides, is not going to help them for the future of other video games. If that, what they're looking for, because again, they go to a different developer starting from scratch. You're 3-4 years out.
I have an interesting story here, and this is coming out of, I know we were signing off, but I would like to be able to at least get a comment on you guys before we sign up for the day. This is from the buddies over at WrestlingInc.com. Tip of the old cap to them. I know we're getting this story up as well at Sportskeeda. And this features a comment from Universal Studios Group Business Affairs Manager Mike Pandit, NBC Universal, which works with WWE's television partner. He was on Eric Bischoff's Strictly Business podcast, had a lot to say, and he spoke openly about their competition for a wrestling brand with All Elite Wrestling and Warner. And it's interesting as we're talking about, TV deals and stuff coming up within the next year and a half. He thinks that AEW, specifically being in Warner, is a huge advantage for them. This is not revealing anything internal about NBC. U executives have been very clear with how pleased they are with WWE's drive of subscribers to the Peacock platform, which is true. There's a lot of attribution, you could say, between subscribers for Peacock that is connected to WWE events. So good on them for that. Part of the advantage for WWE is there are new events each month, yes, but then 2, arguably 3 or 4 times a year, they have these big events. Your WrestleMania, the upcoming Super Show in the UK, Saudi events that drive consumers who might not have been subscribed to say, I have to watch this pay-per-view, right? You have to get to behind the, that makes sense, right? They're loyal. They want to see new content. Is the baseline of 1 million viewers something Tony can sell as an advantage for them? Yes, the question is, what is the price he's going to get for that? Now, as we see more consolidation in the industry and their partnership primarily with Warner Media that's being run by Discovery executives, not Warner executives, from the intensive purposes, from what we have seen, I don't know anyone in that organization, but they're going to run a much leaner, meaner business than Warner had planned on running. Now, does that mean AEW is going to get the kind of live rights media fees they would have gotten a couple of years ago? I don't know the answer to that, but I think the advantage for AEW is that even at an increase to what they're currently getting paid, which is around $40 to $45 million, it's still probably cheaper than scripted programming. So that is an advantage. Yeah,
don't forget how quickly they got into the profit.
Yeah,
with
they got into the
profit side of
profit fairly early. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
part of it is you weren't running live events though, too, so your revenues were lower. You're staying at the same place and stuff like that. So it kind of adds up, though.
Yeah.
Mind you, that's all circumstantial. You run the business you're in. Continuing, he says, "I don't know Nick Khan, but he was making this point repeatedly. That was what we were seeing when they can take a peek at subscription and subscription fatigue. You know, the churn, people getting on and off subscription services. That's something that's happening with Netflix right now. Panic goes on 5 years ago when there was Netflix and WWE Network. It was great. You pay $10 and you get all the wrestling in the world. Now HBO Max, it's a $15 month fee. Disney Plus is $10. Netflix in some cases can be $17. Paramount is $10. There are many other products that even outside of the entertainment consumption, subscription base is an issue. So he says AEW's advantage is they have the average of 1 million linear basic cable a week. Most of those people probably have access to HBO Max already. So imagine if it's more valuable to Warner and HBO Max to get something to get you to retain, and you make sure the people that are probably, maybe a good portion, may already have HBO Max to stay on HBO Max. So this is your churn-proof thing. I can't get rid of my HBO Max.
Yeah.
Well,
I know
that's what
I'm
the
getting-
cable companies are doing now. The cable
Yeah.
companies, when you subscribe to a certain cable company, they'll include HBO Max for 12 months. And if you try to disconnect, it's like, oh, no, we'll give you a $20 discount. Plus, we'll throw in HBO Max for another year, you know? So
Yeah.
we see this happen pretty frequently. But at the same time, this is a really smart move from Warner Media because, just like you said, they are becoming more aggressive. And if they become more aggressive and they are paying more to AEW, that just means AEW is just going to get seen by a lot more eyes. And if we get HBO Max contract streaming deal for live events on AEW, that's it. That's a game changer.
And
That
don't forget
is a huge game changer.
Don't forget HBO Max has a cheaper option just like Peacock does as well. They just rolled that out.
For ads, but also it's worth noting HBO Max doesn't have any live stuff on it just yet. They're
No,
going
but
to.
they're going
They're
to.
They've already signed a deal for US soccer match.
Yeah, they're going to have
next
soccer.
year.
Yeah.
So, but they haven't said like what the rollout of that is going to be. So it's interesting. You know, you're getting live stuff on Peacock already. That was with the rollout. And it's smart. It's smart. This Mike Panda guy. I want to go listen to this interview, Strictly Business with Eric Bischoff, talking purely the business of wrestling, which is very intriguing to me as to how this plays out. So that'll be interesting. And it's warm that somebody from your opposition says, here's the advantage they have. Here's the advantage we have. You know, advantage you have is WWE is a well-known brand. It's very, very well known. And you're talking about, 10 to 20 million people internationally watching a week. And that's a light observation. So if you have enough people that come over and they stay over with you on HBO Max and they're there every month for something like that, then you're starting to do the churn proof thing, So, all right, wrapping it up. I'm done. I've rambled. I read my fun little quote I wanted to read that I found during the show. Did you like the show? Did you like it? If you're just joining us, we have a lot of stories you could go back and watch, including that AEW video game story, Tony Khan purchasing Ring of Honor and including it in the AEW fold, and all those different things. If you're just joining us, don't forget to go back and watch the whole show. If you haven't done so, share the link. I'm going to be frank. We have to prove this to some people. We have to prove this to some people over and over again. If you are watching now, we have something to prove, and you can help us do it by simply hitting a like button. All right? So go ahead and do that. Share the link you stink. You can follow Jose at Jose_G_official on the Twitter machine. Jeremy Bennett is believing in something, and what does he believe? You can see it right now at his Twitter handle, at JB Huskers. I will be on a very, very cool thing that I will share with you this week. It is outside of the wrestling world.
What's that cool thing, Kevin? It's a thing? Is it a thing? Or
I'm not allowed. I'm not allowed to say this thing that you'll be able to somehow consume. I will be on. All right. So keep an eye out for it. I'm saying it's going to be pretty ridiculous. All right. Let me say that it's a very funny thing. Is outside of the world of wrestling, but it's very, very cool. I can't
as ridiculous as Brooks Jensen's strong hand.
Oh, much more ridiculous than that. Much more. Yes. I highly suggest you check out what this is going to be. So give me a follow on the Twitter machine at Kellam. Thank you guys so much. If you haven't done so, share that link you stink. Take a deep breath. And remember, when watching wrestling, do the most important thing, which is what, gentlemen?
You have to take a deep breath, exhale, remember that everything's okay, and enjoy wrestling.
Yeah!
Talk to them.
I'm on a milk.
Watch out, watch out, watch out.